Hi guys, welcome back to the channel again. In today's tutorial, we are going to install Arch Linux with the BTRFS file system. We are going to create several subvolumes, and I'm going to go a little bit more in depth about the options used and why I'm using those subvolumes. Let's get going. So let's get going here. Let's boot up the machine by hitting enter. It's going to take a moment to boot up. Now what I want to do, I want to log in via SSH to have a bigger terminal and bigger fonts. So I'll do this very quickly by skipping other options, and then we'll start from scratch. So let me type in pacman-syy and then open SSH and hit enter. It's going to take a moment first to synchronize the database, and that's because I have already an Ethernet cable connected. But as I said, we will go through the steps in a second. Proceed with install. There you go, clean up the terminal and type in systemctl start sshd and hit enter. Now I need to give a password to the root user, so pass wd, enter the new password and retype it and check my IP. So let me pull up my terminal. There you go, and I can type in ssh and then root at 192.168.122.162 and hit enter. Accept the fingerprint and enter my password. And we are logged in now to the root. So let's clean up the terminal and begin the installation. So the first thing you would need to do now, if you don't have a US keyboard, is to put in your keyboard layout. To find out your keyboard layout, you can type in localctl list-keymaps and then a pipe symbol and use the grep function to narrow down the search. Now the localization depends on the keyboard you have, of course. The connotation of my keyboard is CH because I'm on a Swiss keyboard. Then I can hit enter. And the one I'm looking for is the first one. So to load that into memory, I'll type in load keys and then the string, so de_ch-latin1 and hit enter. And there you go. We can clean up the terminal and type in IP space A. Now, as I said before, I have an IP because I have an Ethernet cable connected to the machine here, which ends with 162. If you have Wi-Fi, then there is something new here since the June ISO in Arch Linux. You would have to type in IP link and hit enter. You will see here the name of your Wi-Fi card. Now in my case you don't see it because I don't have any in my virtual machine, but mark the name of your Wi-Fi card here because then we will have to type in IP link down and then the name of your Wi-Fi card. So for example, it could be something like WPNS0. You replace this of course with yours and then hit enter. And after you have done that, you can type in Wi-Fi-menu and hit enter. And you will see the list of networks. You can select yours, enter the password, and you'll have an IP as well. So let me clean up the terminal. And now that we have internet, we can synchronize the network time protocol by typing in time, date, ctl, set-ntp, and then true, and hit enter. And this is done. So now let's take care of our mirror list. We want to install Reflector to have the fastest servers available to us. So we can type in pacman-syy and then reflector and hit enter. It's going to take a second to synchronize the database first and hit enter to proceed with the install. There you go. Now let's use reflector to create our mirror list by typing in reflector-c for the country. In my case, it's Switzerland right now. You replace this, of course, accordingly. And then -a for the age of the server. In my case, 6 hours. And then --sort. And we're going to sort them by speed, so rate, and then --save to save this information under /etc/pacman.d/mirrorlist and hit enter. Now we can resynchronize the servers by typing in pacman-syy and hit enter, and there we go. Let's clean up the terminal and type in lsbk. Now I have a disk here in my virtual machine of 100 gigabytes called VDA. Now yours might be different, might be SDA or NVMe 0 and 1 if you have such a drive. So throughout the tutorial, you replace the name of your disk accordingly. Now this is a UEFI system. We need to partition the disk with 2 partitions at least, one EFI partition and a mandatory root partition. And this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to create an EFI partition and a root partition and then format the EFI partition with the FAT file system, the root partition with the BTRFS file system, and create various subvolumes in there. So let's begin partitioning by typing in gdisk/dev/vda and hit enter. So for the command here, let's type in n for new and hit enter. Partition number 1 default is fine. First sector is also fine. Last sector is the size of the partition. The EFI partition should be, let's say, plus 200 megs and hit enter. Partition type should be EFI system. For the code is EF00. And this is done. Now let's create the second partition by typing in N for new and hit enter. Partition number 2 is fine. First sector is fine. And the last sector is also fine because this partition takes the remainder of the disk. So we can hit enter here. The code is also fine, so we can hit enter. Now we need to write the changes to the disk. So let's type in W and hit enter. Proceed by typing Y. And the partition table has been written to the disk. Let's clean up the terminal and type in lsblk. And we have our two partitions in there. So let's format them. Let's begin with VDA1. Let's type in mkfs.fat. This is a FAT file system. Then dash capital F32, so FAT32 file system. And then /dev/VDA1, the partition name, and hit enter. Let's partition VDA2 with the BTRFS file system by typing in mkfs.btrfs, and then the partition name, so /dev/VDA2, and hit enter. There you go. Now we need to mount the root partition and create our subvolumes. So let's begin by mounting it first by typing in mount /dev/VDA2 and then /mount and hit enter. And now we can create our subvolumes. Now I'm going to create several subvolumes and I'm going to tell you why I'm going to create one by one while we are doing it. So first let's create the root subvolume, which doesn't need actually any explanation, by typing in BTRFS, SU for subvolume, CR for create, and then /mount /@root. This is the root subvolume, and hit enter. Now we can pull up the last command with the up arrow and replace root with home, because I want to create also a home subvolume, and hit enter. Now let's pull up the last command here and create a new subvolume, which is going to be the var subvolume, and hit enter. Now, the var directory normally contains variable files, including logs, temporary caches, and so on. And it's also the default location for virtual machine images and databases. And that's why this volume is created to exclude all of these variables from snapshots. And it should be also copy on write disabled, which we're going to do in a second. Now, let's pull up the last command and create the next subvolume, which is going to be the SRV subvolume, and hit enter. Now, the server subvolume contains normally web and FTP servers data, and it is excluded to avoid data loss on rollbacks. Pull up the last command with the up arrow and replace server with opt. Now, the opt subvolume and the opt directory contains normally third-party product, and it is excluded to avoid uninstalling these applications on rollbacks. Pull up the last command again with the up arrow and replace opt with temp. Now, the temp subvolume and the temp directory, of course, is a directory containing temporary files and caches, and it's excluded from snapshots. Pull again up the last command with the up arrow and replace temp with swap, and hit enter. Now, why am I created a swap subvolume? It's because, as you have seen before, I didn't create a swap partition on this system, and I want to create a swap file. Now, as per the Arch Wiki, to create a swap file on a BTRFS file system, the swap file should be in its own subvolume. So that's why I'm creating this subvolume here, and later we are going to create the swap file in here. Now, let's pull up the last command with the up arrow and replace swap with .snapshots, which is the snapshot volumes, and hit enter. So that's all for the volume creation. Now that we create them, we need to unmount the mount directory to mount the subvolumes in there. So we can type in umount /mount and hit enter. And let's clean up the terminal. Now we need to mount our subvolumes, and let's begin with the root subvolume. So let's type in mount -o for options. We want to give options to the mount commands. The first one is no A time, or no access time. So this is going to improve greatly the system performance because it doesn't need to actually write the times from when the file are accessed. This works with most programs, except a few programs like Neomat, but it works for most of the times, and I'm going to leave it here in this installation. Then comma, and the next option is the compress option. And we have 3 times of compression here. The first one is zlib. So zlib is kind of slow, but has a higher compression ratio. So it's not the one which is actually most used. The second type is actually the most used one, which is lzo. This has faster compression and decompression than zlib, but has worse compression ratio. And its sole purpose is designed to be fast. Now, there is a third kind of compression type, which is called zstd. And zstd has a compression comparable to zlib, but has higher compression and decompression speeds, and also different ratio levels. So the differences between these 3 types of compressions depend really on the actual data set and cannot really be expressed with a single recommendation. Although by the BTRFS wiki, the LZO compression type seems to give the most satisfying results for general use, and it's the one that I'm going to use in this tutorial. So I'm going to type in here LZO, and the next option is space underscore cache. The space cache option should be actually already enabled in modern kernels, but I just want to reference it out because it points us to the fact that the system is going to be able to write files immediately because it basically knows where the free space is. So basically, when enabled, the kernel will have the available file system free space block address in memory, and so when you create a new file, it will immediately start writing it to the disk. Then a comma, and now we need to specify the subvolume, so it's subvol equal. Remember, the subvolume for the root is at root. And then we need to specify the partition name, which is /dev/vda2. And then the directory mount is /mount, and hit enter. Now we need to also mount other subvolumes, but for those we need to create also the directories. So to create the directories, we can type in mkdir /mount / and then open the curly brace and type in the directory we need. So we need actually to have the boot directory because we need to mount the EFI partition in there. But we need to make also the home directory, and we need to make also the var directory and the server directory, the op directory, the temp directory, the swap directory, and the .snapshots. Then we can close the curly brace and hit enter. And now we can begin mounting our subvolumes in those directories. So I'll pull up the last two commands here because I mostly use the same options. And for the home subvolume, I'm just going to replace here, instead of at root, I'm just going to type it in here at home. And for the mount point, it's /mount/home, and hit enter. Now I'm going to do the same for the server directory. So I'll pull up the last command and replace at home with at srv. And the mount is, instead of home, it's srv as well, and hit enter. I'm going to do the same for the temp directory. So again, I'm going to replace here with temp. And also the mount point is tmp, and hit enter. I'm going to do the same for the opt. So replace here tmp with opt. And also the mount point with opt, and hit enter. And I'm going to do the same also for the snapshots. So I'll pull up again the last command here and replace opt with .snapshots. And the directory to mount is also .snapshots, and hit enter. Now we need to still mount the var subvolume and the swap subvolume. So these two subvolumes, I will mount them with specific options. So I'll begin with the swap subvolume. So I'll type in mount -o. So for the swap subvolume, I'm going to say no data COW, or no data copy on write. Now, what is copy on write? So when data is overwritten in an ext4 file system, normally, the new data is overwritten on top of the existing data on the storage device, destroying basically the old copy. BTRFS as a file system instead will move overwritten blocks elsewhere in the file system and write the new data there, leaving the older copy of the data in place. And that's why we have the ability in BTRFS to have snapshots. Now, with setting the no data copy on write option in this specific subvolume, I'm going to basically exclude this feature, and that's fine because this is going to be anyway just for the swap file. So the next parameter would be subvol equal at swap, and then our partition name, so /dev/vda2, and the mount point is /mount/swap, and hit enter. Now I'm going to repeat exactly the same process with the var directory because it has also a no data copy on write option. So I'll pull up the last command with the up arrow and just replace here swap with var, and also the mount point instead of swap, it's var, and hit enter. We still have our EFI partition to mount, if you remember. So let's mount it by typing in mount /dev/vda1, that was the name, and the mount point is going to be /mount/boot. Now it could be also /boot/EFI, and this is going to depend also if you want to install the grab-BTRFS package later during the installation. Now if you want to use grab-BTRFS to be able to boot also from snapshots, the EFI partition has to be mounted in /boot, and that's why I'm doing it this way here. But if you don't want to use grab-BTRFS, it's fine, you can also install it into boot/EFI. And then we can hit enter. Now let's clean up the terminal and type again lsblk and hit enter. Now we can see we have our mount points in here, which are correct. This is the last directory I mounted. That's why it appears like this. But now we are ready to install the base system. So we can type in packstrap and then /mount. So the packages are going to be base and then Linux for the latest Linux kernel, then Linux-firmware and an editor, in my case, Vim. And if you have an Intel processor, you can install also Intel-ucode. And if you have an AMD processor, you can install AMD-ucode. And then I'm going to install also BTRFS-progs and hit enter. So it's going to take a moment now to download and install the packages, and I'll be back when it's done. There you go. The packages are now installed. So we can clean up the terminal and generate the file system table by typing in gen fstab -U. So it's going to be generated by using the UUID of the partitions and then /mount. And we're going to append this information to /mount /etc/fstab and hit enter. Now let's have a look at the fstab file by typing cat /mount /etc/fstab and hit enter. And you can see here we have all our partitions. Let me make this a little bit smaller and I'll scroll up a little bit on the terminal here. So we have all our subvolumes and also our EFI partition here. So everything looks good. Let me increase again the font size. There you go. Clean up the terminal. Now we can move into the installation and leave the installer by typing in arch-root and then /mount and hit enter. And there you go. Let's clean up the terminal. And the first thing we need to do is to create our swap file. So to create our swap file, we need a specific process, which is also described in the Arch Wiki. So we need to create first a 0-length file. We also need to set the no copy on write, which is actually already on the subvolume, but I'm going to do it anyway. And we also need to make sure that the compression is disabled, although it's already disabled also in the subvolume, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. So we can type in truncate -s and then 0. And then /swap, because you remember the swap subvolume is mounted into the swap directory, and then /swap file, and hit enter. Now the next command is to set the no copy on write, so we can type in chattr +C /swap file, and hit enter. Now we need to set the property for no compression, so we can type in BTRFS property set /swap file compression none and hit enter. There you go. Now we can create the swap file by typing in dd if equals /dev /0 of equal /swap file and then bs equal. So the base for me is 1 GB and the count is going to be 2. So I want to have a 2 GB swap file basically, and then status equal progress and hit enter. There you go. The swap file is created. Now we need to give the permissions to the swap file. So we need to type in chmod 600 /swap file and hit enter. Now make the swap by typing in mkswap /swap file and then swap on /swap file and hit enter. Now let's clean up the terminal because we need to put also the swap file in the fstab file. We need to type in vim /etc/fstab and hit enter. And I'll go down here to the end of the file and enter the new line and type it in here /swap file. Mount point is none. File system type is swap. Options are defaults and the file system checks are 0 and 0. Then we can save the file and exit Vim, and we are done with the swap file. Now it's maintenance work. We need to work on the time zone and the locales. First, the time zone. So let's find out our time zones by typing in time-date-ctl list-time zones, and then pipe symbol grep. I put in here the city closest to me, which is Zurich, and hit enter. And that's my time zone. So I'll need to put this in the system by typing in ln-sf /user /share /zone info /Europe /Zurich. And I'm going to link this to /etc /local time and hit enter. There you go. Now we can synchronize the hardware clock to the system clock. So HW clock --sys to HC and hit enter. There you go. Now we can work on the locale. So let's type in vim/etc/locale.gen and hit enter. We look for our locales. I'm looking for English US here, which is down here. We're going to choose the one which has UTF-8. So just uncomment the line and then save the file and exit vim. Create the locales by typing in locale-gen and hit enter. And now put the locales also in the locale.com file. So I'll type in echo lang equal en_us.utf-8. And I'm going to append this information to /etc/locale.conf and hit enter. Now, if you choose also the key map at the beginning of the video, we need to put this also in the vconsole.com file. So we can type in echo key map equal, in my case, it was de_ch-latin1, and we append this to /etc/vconsole.conf and hit enter. There you go. Let's clean up the terminal and work on the host name. So we can type in vim/etc/hostname and hit enter. I'm going to call my machine Arch BTRFS. Then we can save the file and exit vim. And I'm going to work also on the host file. So let's type in vim/etc/hosts and hit enter. Go down here to the empty line and insert a new line here with the IPv4 address 127.0.0.1, tab localhost. Next line IPv6 : 1, tab localhost again. And in the last line 127.0.1.1, our host name, so Arch BTRFS in my case, .local domain, and then a tab, and then again Arch BTRFS. Then we can save the file and exit vim. We can give also now a password to the root user. So let's type in passwd and hit enter. Enter the root password and retype it. There you go. Now let's clean up the terminal and install the packages we need for our bootloader and some networking tools. So we can type in pacman-s grub our bootloader. Now I want to install also grub BTRFS, so I'll type in grub-BTRFS. And also EFI boot mgr because it's a EFI system. I'm going to install also network manager and also network-manager-applet. I'm going to install also WPA_supplicant and also dialog, OS prober, eventually, if you want to install some other distros one day. 2 packages for FAT file systems. One is mtools and DOS-FS tools. 2 development packages. One is base-devel and the other one is linux-headers. And I want to install also Git and also Reflector to have it in the installation. We can install also Blues for our Bluetooth adapters and also Blues-utils and also CUPS, the printing system. I'm going to install also XDG-utils and also XDG-user-dirs for home directories, and then we can hit enter. Accept the defaults here and proceed with the installation by hitting enter. Again, it's going to take a moment to download and install, and I'll be back when it's done. So we are asked here to import PGP keys, so let's do this. We need to import probably 3 of those. There you go. And now the installation will proceed. I'll be back in a second. There you go, the packages are now installed. So let's clean up the terminal. Before we install grub, we need to still take care of one thing in our mk-init-cpio file. So to do this, we can type in vim and then /etc/mk-init-cpio.conf and hit enter. And what we need to do here, we need to go down to the modules and insert here the BTRFS module. And then we can save the file and exit vim. And we need to recreate the image by typing in mk-init-cpio-p and then Linux, because this is our kernel, and hit enter. It's going to take a moment to do that. And there you go. Now let's proceed by installing grub. We can type in grub-install --target equal x86_64-EFI and then --EFI-directory. We need to specify our directory, so equal/boot. We did this at the beginning. And then --bootloader-id equal grub. And hit enter. There you go. Now we need to generate the configuration file, so we can type in grub-mkconfig -o, so the output goes under /boot /grub.cfg, and hit enter. So as you can see here, the grub BTRFS program says separate boot partition was detected, but there were no snapshots found. That's of course normal. We didn't do any yet. But the moment you're going to do snapshots, they're going to be listed also on the grub BTRFS once it's active. I have a video for that on the channel. You can go ahead and look this if you want to see how it works. So now we can enable some services for our system. So let's type in systemctl enable. The first one is network manager for the internet, and hit enter. Now we can pull up the last command with up arrow and replace network manager with Bluetooth, and hit enter. And also the printing system, so we replace Bluetooth with org-caps.capsd, and hit enter. There you go. Let's clean up the terminal and create a user for the system. User add -m capital G and then wheel and then the username, in my case my name. So the M switch is for the home directory and the capital G switch is for the supplementary group, which is going to be the will group, which I'm going to configure in a second for the sudo privileges. But before, let's give a password to the user. So let's type in pass wd and then my name and hit enter. Enter the new password and retype it. Now we can type in editor equal vim and then sudo and hit enter. We need to now work on the will group we talked about before. So we need to go down here and find the first one, which has the line all equal all, and delete the hashtag here. And then we can save the file and exit vim. There you go. There is one last package actually I want to install for me because I want to go back after to the SSH terminal, which is the OpenSSH package. So let me do this very quickly. I'll type in pacman-s OpenSSH. This is for you guys optional. Proceed with installation, and I will activate also by typing in systemctl enable sshd and hit enter. There you go. Now we can exit the installation and return to the installer. So we can type in exit, unmount all partitions, so you mount -a, and reboot the machine. So I'll type in reboot, and let me pull up my virtual machine here in a sec. If everything went well, we will be greeted by grub, and there you go, this is grub, so everything was good. Let's put up the machine here by hitting enter, and we can log in with our username and the password, and there you go. Now let me check my IP, because I want to go back to my SSH terminal, and my IP ends with 163, so let me go back here to my terminal very quickly, and I'll clean it up, and I'll type in SSH hermano at 192.168.122.163 and hit enter. Typing yes for the fingerprint, enter the password, and we are in our installation. Now I have an IP because again I have an Ethernet cable. If you have Wi-Fi, now you can type in nmtui and hit enter. Go down to activate a connection. You'll see a list of networks. You can select yours, enter the password, and you'll be connected as well. Let's log out from here. Now let's check our subvolumes by typing in sudo BTRFS subvol list -p and then the root directory and hit enter. Enter our sudo password and hit enter. And there you go, these are the subvolumes in our system. So from here on, you just need to install your graphic cards drivers. And again, if you have an Intel card, you can type in sudo pacman-s xf86-video-intel. If you have an AMD card, you can replace Intel with AMD GPU. And if you have an NVIDIA card, you can replace with NVIDIA and also NVIDIA-utils. If you have older NVIDIA cards, I refer you to the Arch Wiki. There you need to find basically the code name of your NVIDIA card and then find the drivers appropriate for your card, which are listed on the Arch Wiki. And I'll let the link to this in the video description below as well. And this is going to do it for the base install of the BTRFS file system. From here, you could actually install your extra display server, display manager, and desktop environment, or window manager if you prefer to do so. And if you want to have a look on how to install Snapper and learn how to make snapshotting, you can look at my other two videos I have on the channel about that, and I will leave a link to those also in the video description below. So there you go, guys. This is how you can install Arch Linux with BTRFS. If you want to see how to use Snapper with BTRFS, I have a video on that on the channel, and I will leave a link to it in the video description below. I hope you liked the video, guys. If you did, please hit the like button below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Subs always helps us out. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so by visiting our Patreon website, or you can donate via PayPal through our website as well. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys, and I'll see you very soon in the next one.